right, everybody, welcome to the Isaac Carter Show. I have my guest, Fernando Labastida, the author of the Startup Book and the Viral Genius Playbook, right, Fernando?
Exactly. So excited to be here on the Isaac Carter Show, and it's also going to be posted on the Viral Genius podcast as well.
Awesome. I'm really excited. You and I have had some really good conversations about go-to-market strategies, and obviously I am your client. You are helping me kind of find my voice and build my personal brand, and you've really sold me on the founder-led marketing concept and the whole Viral Genius. Your framework has helped me go viral several times. I felt like I never had a voice and that my content was kind of lost. We didn't know how to use it. So whenever we would record something, we wouldn't know what to do with it. And you showed us how to develop the hooks and turn my content into really a platform that allows me to reach new customers and really engage my current customers. So really excited to have you on today and to talk about go-to-market strategies.
Thanks, man. My head is getting too big. I don't even know if I'll be able to leave this room after everything you said.
Camera back a little bit. I've been doing in-person networking. I'm a member of a faith-based entrepreneurship group, and yesterday I went out to lunch with them, and everybody was saying, Isaac, your content's amazing. You're obviously doing something very different. Really excited to see what you're doing there. So
that's fantastic.
I'm excited to see how the Viral Genius framework, I figured I'd get some leads on LinkedIn, but I didn't consider the fact that my existing network would be so much more engaged. In fact, I went to call people that I met through Code Launch in November. And they immediately pick up the phone. Hey, Isaac, what's going on? See, you're really busy. How's everything going? Which is not an experience that I've had before. So it's really been activating my current network.
I mean, that's totally what happens. I mean, when you start producing valuable content, not just, this is what I ate this morning or whatever, but valuable content on a daily basis, you stick with a consistent schedule, all of a sudden it looks like as though you're everywhere. You look like a thought leader. You look like as though you're really doing something exciting and important, and people notice. And the thing is that the majority of the people out there are not going to be the ones that are just going to be commenting and liking, etc. The majority of people are lurkers. They watch, but they don't, because, they're, I don't know if they're too busy.
It's more of a quiet engagement where when they see you, they're going to talk to you about it and ask you questions and engage with you. And if you call them, they're going to answer. But they're not actively out there commenting and liking and sharing and things. And for me, that's even more valuable. I want to be in front of as many people as possible. But what I really want is for somebody to answer the phone when I call them.
Exactly. And by the way, those 3 or 4 times that you went, I think it's 4 times that you went viral.
Yep.
Those help to boost your content even more. So the people that are lurking, that don't comment, when they see that, they're like, oh my gosh, Isaac is doing something really cool.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. And also the plateaus are higher. So for example, I was regularly about 5 views per week. Then I went viral, and then I came back down to about 2,000 views per week. And then I went viral again and came down to about 4,000. And now we're right around 6,000 views per week.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I love the peak of the 60,000 views in one day and people out there highly engaged and liking, disliking, and all that. That's exciting.
And even arguing. I mean, sometimes you think, okay, negative comments or people arguing or contradicting me, that sounds bad. No, it's good. I mean, the old adage of all publicity is good publicity holds true in this case.
Yeah, well, also the people that are arguing against what I'm saying are people that need to be shaken up, like the agile cultists, as I call them. They're the ones out there telling me that I'm wrong, but they can't ever tell me how I'm wrong, just that they disagree with me. And the people that are liking and light bulbing and loving the posts are the CEOs, the CTOs, my clients.
Yeah.
If my clients were arguing with me and hating what I was saying, then I would have to change what I say.
Then you'd have to worry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when my competitors are out there arguing with me, then that's great for me.
Yeah. Well, cool,
so,
man.
You and I have been talking a lot kind of behind the scenes and planning and strategizing and coming up with some ideas. So my catalyst method and the top of my upcoming book, Before You Build, we're talking very much about kind of switching the paradigm that we see in startups. Startups right now start with a person that has an idea, and they like to consider themselves a visionary because they have a vision, an idea, and then they build a product based off of an idea. And then they go, hey, I've got a solution, but I have no product market fit. And like 40% of all startups will fail because of a lack of product market fit. Another 40% will fail because they just can't deliver the product. And 20-30% fail because they just can't execute, scale, run to a profit perspective, which is all things that could be handled way easier.
Yeah.
And is way more predictable if you build a product for that is a solution for a real problem felt by a known person.
Exactly.
And my assertion has always been, if you start with the person, start with the market, understand their problems, that the product market fit chasm goes away.
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective, if I build a product specifically to solve a problem for a known audience, does that make marketing more approachable?
Well, I want to say that I actually think that your approach with the catalyst method of searching for an audience with a problem, I think that is a marketing mindset, because marketers are always looking for problems. They're always looking for a niche audience and a problem to solve, right? And so marketers have a lot harder job to market a product in which the product itself is just the vision of a founder, and they had a great idea, you know, like the typical inventor. I'm an inventor, right? I came up with a great technology, but the marketer says, well, what the market and what's the problem? So your question, I think that you actually are thinking like a marketer, or rather, maybe marketing has been carrying the torch to the way companies should be founded in the first place, and you're just doing founding of companies. You're just creating products in the way it should be done, which is as a solution to a problem, right?
Yeah, when I come to you as a marketing person and say, hey, I built this thing, go find somebody that wants it, now you're immediately disadvantaged. And it works sometimes, but typically at a very high cost, right?
Exactly. And you know, the way marketers think is we want to have an aspirin to basically stop your headache. We're not trying to create vitamins because you need more antioxidants or you need more vitamin E or whatever, because eventually that'll help you down the road. No, we want to solve an acute aching problem that you need to be solved right now. So we want to sell the aspirin.
And that you just covered 3 of the pillars of my problem statement. So for me, my problem statement is, who's my audience? Who am I solving a problem for? What is their problem? What is the cause? What's the pain, consequence, and urgency? So there are some very, very painful problems out there that are very low urgent and has no consequence if you don't solve them. Don't solve them, at least not first. Your MVP, like when you're going to an investor and say, give me money, I'm going to solve something. Or when you're coming to me and say, I want you to build something, I'm like, okay, do you have a well-defined audience? Is it large enough to be worthy of my time? Because my time is valuable. Okay, do they have a painful problem with a high urgency, they must solve this, and a clearly defined consequence? If not, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing too that you might want to add to that, because I think getting involved in something really has to then look at the end result. What is that transformation? So you look at, I like to think about the before and after thing, right? So the before, and you know, you look at typical TV advertisements. You know, if you remember those TV advertisements back in the day before we had streaming, but a typical TV advertisement, if you looked at a detergent, an advertisement for a detergent or a dishwashing thing, you saw the housewife who was kind of sad and kind of like suffering. And then they had this magical, and it's always magical, new dishwashing liquid. And then
amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the housewife is sexier. Her husband wants to take her out on a date. She's the super mom, etc. So there's that transformation. It's almost like the product is a magic potion that comes in and transform that person from a sad previous state to a heroic after state.
So I have seen the devastation that happens when a founder starts solutioning before they understand the problem. So obviously the Catalyst method has 5 steps. We qualify, discover, analyze, propose, and deliver. So for me, the qualification is just like, hey, Fernando, my friend wants to rent jet skis on a social community online. He wants to call it this cool name that's really engaging. What do you think? Think it's a good idea? And if you say, yeah, sounds interesting, let's discover more. Cool, qualified, let's go to discovery. Then we go down, okay, who are we solving for? We're literally talking about a rental peer sharing social, like a peer-to-peer, consumer-to-consumer sharing platform. Is there appetite for this? What is the market size for this? How are we going to approach it? What key features need to be in a proposed solution? How are we solving problems for somebody? I've got an RV sitting in storage right now. I would love to get $300 a day to rent it out.
Yeah.
That'd be super nifty. But that's discovery for me, and it has nothing to do with the solution. And if somebody says, hey, let's build this, I say, no, let's understand the problem first. Because I know what happens.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Building, yeah. Don't solution until you fully understood the problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, so yeah. And I was just actually thinking about this as you were describing it, right? So why would a person even want to rent out his jet skis or what have you? So, you know, maybe they need that $300 extra because they want to get together for their, you know, their group of 5 friends from high school are having a 5-year anniversary of graduating from high school, and they're going to go to Iceland. And they need the money for that. And so the $300 a month or what have you will start to accumulate. They need to do that. It's become a problem because they don't want to be the one guy, the one schmuck who gets left behind and doesn't go to the thing. They need that money, right?
Well, here's kind of the conundrum for me as an RV owner is we're leaving tomorrow. We're going to Colorado and then up to South Dakota and Wisconsin, come down through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It would be too hard with my kids and my dog and everybody to pull a trip like that off in Airbnbs or in tents. Me and my wife are accustomed to a certain level of comfort at this point in our lives. But I've got $350 a month in the payment for the RV, and then $80 a month in storage, and $90 a month for the insurance. So it costs me $600 a month.
Yeah.
If I go on one long trip per year, it offsets it. But then what if I want to go on a cruise? What if I want to go to Iceland? What if I want to go visit my family's ancestral home in Germany? Well, that $600 a month is a pretty large vacation budget. So how do I offset that? And if I could do 1 3-day rental per month, I can pay for that RV and put that money back into a vacation fund, so that way I can have my cake and eat it too, right?
And knowing that though, see, because so the person coming up with that platform to be able to rent the RV, he or she has to know that. Because if all they think is, oh, this will be cool, people will want to exchange. No, you got to think about what is that backstory for that person? What's going on in their lives? They got to know the end user's life and situation better than they do. And in fact, I don't know who said this, but you got to enter the conversation that's going on in your client's head and enter it with a way that's like, you know them and you have a solution for that conversation.
Yeah. And for me, it was right on the edge. I want my bed, and my wife wants her cooking materials. And so if I could have rented an RV for this 1 3-month trip, I could have gone and said, hey, I'm going to pay you $3,000 to rent this RV for a month. Maybe that's what I would have done instead of entering into a long-term commitment on the RV myself. But I want a boat. But I only want a boat for 1 week, and I only want it in the Keys in Florida, and I'm not pulling it down there. So that could be the option. Is I'm camping in the Keys. All right, I go on this platform. I rent a boat for 3 days, and now that person has their boat covered. So there's whenever you start getting into recreational vehicles, there's a balance that you're trying to play. Because I want a motorcycle, I want a jet ski, I want a boat, but I only want those things for like a week at a time.
Okay, so Isaac, I got a question for you.
Yes.
So when you're doing this discovery, right? So when you take clients through this process and you're doing that discovery, How do you uncover those stories? Do you do a kind of a qualitative interview process or a survey? Like, how do you uncover those stories that'll not only make this product a visceral need in the minds of your ultimate consumers when you finally release it into the market and try to achieve product market fit, and you create the marketing copy for it? Like, how do you find this stuff out?
Talk to 5 people.
Okay.
We talk to, I tell the client that brings us the idea, I say, find 5 prospective customers, understand their battle, their aspirations, what's keeping them from their aspirations, what they spend their time on, what they wish they could spend their time on, what their budgetary constraints are. I want to know a clear overview of a single person and then 4 more.
Yeah.
Now, if you give me 30, that's great-ish, but I think at some point, too many different perspectives start to kind of make the audience overview noisy. So for me, I say pick a sample of 5 to 7 people that you're going to serve. I can extrapolate a market from that, but I want you to pick 5 stories, 5, 7, maximum of 10 stories. And understand them, know their needs, know where they work, where they play, understand their families, and give me, and it's not so hard. I mean, if you're building a company and you can't talk to 5 people who might need a service, stop.
Exactly.
Like, don't.
Yeah.
And then we build our entire audience from an understanding of 5 to 7 people.
Yeah. And I think, well, first of all, I do have to tell you that I actually learned that method that you told me. I was a duct tape marketing consultant for a few years back in 2010, 2011. And they said, as soon as you get started with a client, interview 5 to 10 of their clients to understand their motivations, their emotions, their desires, their fears, etc. And then number 2, it almost gets you inside of their head, if you will,
Man,
understand.
so you're telling me this whole time I've been building software solutions with the mindset of a marketing person? 6 months ago, that would have been fighting words for me, but I get it now.
Yeah, I know you technology, software engineers think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I think us marketers have something to say too.
I mean, yeah, know your audience. Yeah, so for me, a big part of the discovery is knowing and talking to actual people. No, I typically don't talk to my clients. I have them go and interview the client. Because for me, my dad always told me it's more important to learn how to learn than to actually learn.
Yeah.
So I need my client to know how
Very
to
wise
engage
words.
their clients. I need them to know how to get these. I tell you what, when somebody comes and says, I have an idea, and I say, I don't care, tell me about who you're solving problems for. And then they go and they talk to those people, they realize, oh my gosh, the clients, my dad has been working in injection molding for 40 years, and they had
Nice.
this job that they were running, and it was very, very tight spec. And if they had a piece that was raw and end up in a box and that got shipped to a customer, it was a huge amount of cost.
Yeah.
And occasionally, it
Adds
seemed
up.
completely random, they would get what was called a short shot, which means that not enough material got injected into the mold. And they couldn't, that would happen. It would be random, and they didn't understand when that happened. And this is something that plagued them for years. So finally, my dad said, I am going to go and I'm going to run that machine with the operator. I'm going to stand next to them. I'm going to run it. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And he went out there. There had been a couple of short shots that week. So he went and he stood on the line. And he looked on the side, and there were already 30 or 40 shorts there. And he asked the operator, what's going on? He's like, oh, I've been pulling those out. So one of the contributors of the short shots was the operator. This one operator knew that the short shot was coming, and he would pull it. And he would say, how would you know that it's happening? He's like, watch. So they would run, everything's fine. And then he goes, it's going to be a short shot. And then there was a short shot. And then he did that like 10 times. And Dad said, how do you know? And he said, it's cold outside. What do you mean it's cold outside? Well, there's a door right behind this press. Every time that door opens and it's cold outside, it cools off the nozzle and it doesn't inject enough in there. The operator knew the whole time. exactly what the problem was. And these guys were out there, the engineers were in the boardroom trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And all they had to do was talk to the operator and throw 3 thermal blankets on top of the injector unit.
Jeez.
Fixed. So if you have an idea, go and talk to your customer. There's no excuse whatsoever to build something and often spend millions of dollars building it. And they don't even know, like if you read the lean startup, the guy says, well, you don't know who your customer is. Why are you building something if you don't know who your customer is? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. There was a great way to do that, actually. Let me give you a tip here. It's not an actual tip from personal experience. It's one of my favorite digital marketing companies, digitalmarketer.com. Ryan Dice was the CEO and co-founder. He said when they created their offerings, their products were courses and workshops, etc., they would go to a trade show and they would sit down and talk to everybody that walked by. They would have like about a 5-minute conversation, 10-minute conversation with everybody. And in 3 days of that trade show, they had all the information they needed to come up with the marketing copy, to design the user experience, the workflow, etc. So that might be a way of getting all this information. Go to a trade show and just sit there and interview customers.
Yep. Yeah, and being in an engineering team for 20 years, one of our biggest complaints was always that the salespeople were selling things that we didn't build. And my thought was always, hey, if the customers are wanting this and the sales team is selling it, why aren't we building it? And they're like, well, that's not what our product does. That's not how it works. But wait, if the customer wants it and the sales team can sell it, why isn't that what we're building?
Yeah.
And there's just always been this huge disconnect between the product and the customer. And that's what the whole point of the Catalyst method for me is understanding what the customer needs, understanding it quickly, and then developing a product that reduces the pain. And very much from a Kaizen perspective of we're going to take the worst problem and make it no longer the worst problem. We're going to do it very quickly. 12 to 16 weeks, we're ready for market. And we're going to keep solving. We're going to keep solution. We're going to keep building. We're going to keep expanding the audience. But let's identify an audience that can make us profitable or at least net neutral as quickly as possible with the fewest number of development hours. And every single time the founder comes to me and says, can you build this? Well, the answer is probably yes, but can you sell without it? And if the answer is yes, I don't build it. Can you sell without an AI avatar interacting with your students in a fundraising app? Yes, you can. Absolutely you can. So I'm not building it. Someday we'll build it. I think it sounds awesome. But for today, let's prove it. Let's make sure that you can actually sell something. Because if you can't sell something, we're all wasting our time here.
Yeah. Well, and so allow me to go a little bit further as well, right? So I think knowing your market, right? And knowing the problem is a superpower, right? And then if you can take that to the next logical, not logical to everybody, but to me it's logical now that, you see something and you can't unsee it. You take it to the next logical conclusion. And that is you can actually, if you identify their problem, you can put a name to the problem. You could name the problem. That's
right.
Right?
Yeah, that's your category.
Exactly. It's the category. So you name and claim the problem. And then with your solution, then you name and claim the solution. And then that solution becomes a new category. And so you market the category and not your product. And then you become category king or queen of a completely new category that you then can dominate the 76% of the market economics of that new category. That's a whole other podcast episode. But it's category design. Yeah.
And probably some books involved in that too.
Exactly.
Something that I found, I've told the story on the podcast before about the jet manufacturing company that when I got there, they were building a photo booth app. And I'm like, why are we building a photo booth app? Oh, to help people log into their computers faster. Wait a second, what? Come again? And it took me months, but I finally got the whole story. The guy was walking through the factory and he saw that there were a line of people waiting to put put their work into the computer, and he thought, oh, if they could log in faster, then they wouldn't be waiting in line. So let's make a way for them to log in faster. Well, if we had to do that, we should make new name badges. Well, if they're making new name badges, the guards are going to hate that. So let's build a photo booth app. And next thing you know, we're spending $1 million on building a photo booth app so somebody can log into their computer faster. And by the time they did it, IT had gone and installed 30 new computers, which didn't cost $1 million, by the way, and the problem is solved. And so many times people, they get lost on a rabbit trail, and then they're building a product that has nothing to do with the problem anymore. The problem's solved, the problem's done. You're just building something now. And then they come back and calculate the ROI. There is no ROI because you didn't solve a real problem.
Yes.
You only get a return on the investment if you've solved a problem for somebody, right?
So let me ask you this. What is your advice that you give to potential entrepreneurs as to how to find problems to solve?
The very, very same advice that you just gave about the people talking to their customer at a trade show. Listen to your customer and ask good questions. So if you're working in the logistics space and you have somebody doing procurement, and the procurement person spends most of their time sending emails to vendors and suppliers to get their quotes, then you can ask them, hey, how are you handling just-in-time inventory? Well, I don't have time for that. Okay. Well, how are you handling strategic vendor pricing negotiations? I don't have time for that. How are you handling maintaining insurance and licensing information for your vendor to ensure that they're still qualified to do work for you? Oh, I don't have time for that. All right, well, those are all really important things. And if you solve those three things, the thing that you spend all your time on goes away.
Yeah.
Because if you negotiate your strategic pricing at volume up front, you no longer have to ask, how much does this cost every single time you go to buy something, because you know, and it's negotiated. So then you can say, okay, I have to solve this thing logistically for these folks, tactically. So then I can help them implement this strategy in these strategic programs.
Yeah.
So one is I have to know their industry. Absolutely. So I always say that the solution starts with the audience, but really it starts with the person I'm talking to, the professional.
Exactly.
It starts with me and knowing my skills. So obviously the first thing we ask in a discovery is tell me about yourself. And then, okay, tell me about your customer.
I mean,
Fernando, there's some solutions that I can make for your customer that you'll never be able to make. And there's some solutions that you can make for my customer that I could never pull off.
yeah, well, exactly. But, I think you provided a perfect segue for something else that I wanted to say, is that sometimes you could be your own audience, right?
Yeah.
So if you go throughout your day, in your business day or even your personal day, and you experience inconveniences, frustrations, real pains in your life, that is an opportunity for you to create a new product. But then you got to also verify, okay, if I'm having this pain or this problem, this frustration,
Who else?
or this inconvenience, who else is doing it? And so then you go and talk to somebody else. And that's actually kind of what I'm doing with the Viral Genius framework myself. So what I'm doing with the Viral Genius framework is
I saw your post. You're your own best customer.
Exactly. I'm my own best customer because I'm a marketer and my clients are tech entrepreneurs in their 50s and 60s. You're kind of like the exception. You're a young'un.
How are you, your youngest
40s.
customer?
But then I suddenly realized, well, there's something I have in common. Even though I'm not an engineer creating a product, I am 59, and I am kind of like in a second act entrepreneur. Actually, in this case, it's a fifth act entrepreneur, And so what is the issue that we all have in common as second act entrepreneurs? So yeah, it kind of goes to that point.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing about your framework is my knowledge becomes my platform. Even my salesperson, Javi, who you've met, she's awesome. She told me,
she's
Isaac,
fantastic. Yeah.
you don't need somebody to tell you what to say. And she was actually trying to tell me that I didn't need to engage Viral Genius. And what she said is, you've already got a voice, go out and use it. But I don't know how. And that's the beautiful thing about your framework is, this podcast right now is going to be broken down into a transcript and then used to create a month's worth of content. And that month's worth of content, my producer and one person is going to be able to part-time get me everywhere. And now, as a result of that, I'll be able to pick up the phone and call. I had an idea of something that was causing me pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all around my finances, understanding what my run rate was, understanding, like, we had a problem last year where we had 3 customers who just didn't pay their invoices and nobody told me. So we're out there, we're working hard, and $250,000 just isn't in my accounts, and I needed that. So now we came up, hey, well, what if I built something on my phone that alerts me when that's happening and tells me when my run rate's under 45?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, I wonder if everybody else needs that. So I called up some fractional CFOs, and because they'd seen my content, they answered the phone when I called them, and I started talking to them about that. And now we're negotiating a
Super cool.
new startup for our studio that is a virtual CFO with all of the features in there that I needed, and so do they.
Yeah. So I wanted to comment on that, because I think you touched on something that I think is sort of like the shift, the paradigm shift that we're seeing in go-to-market strategies. You know, and it's so with technology, we've reached the ultimate situation in which everybody or anybody in the world can access their market directly. There is no more intermediaries. There are no more gatekeepers. The pay to play in terms of media is zero, or maybe even negative. So what does that do? People don't have to put up with anything they don't want to watch or listen to or read, right? And the thing is, most companies have not adopted to that yet. They're still doing brand advertising, brand development, creating corporate content. Nobody wants to watch that. And that's why the most successful startup entrepreneurs today are the ones that are sharing content from their own personal experience and perspective, like you are, like I am, like people like Adam Robinson and Dave Gerhardt and all these people who are kind of leading the charge in the whole founder-led marketing thing. Exactly.
The founder of As Seen on TV, I was at a conference and he was speaking, and he spends all his time doing content creation now because he left a lot of on the table when he discovered Billy Mays and all those folks. Everybody knew who Billy Mays was, but nobody knew who he was. And unfortunately, I guess it's still catchy because I cannot remember the guy's name to save my life. But that's what he was saying, is you have to become a thought leader. And you said earlier that you need to appear to be a thought leader. No, you need to be that thought leader. You need to have information, useful content. People aren't engaging my content because they love my beard or because they like the lighting and my producer did a good job on the editing. They are liking my content because I'm saying things that's helpful to them, and I've got a level of experience.
Well, and I think more than just being helpful to them, you're saying things that they secretly have believed, and now you're kind of like holding the torch or carrying the banner for them. So explain a little bit about that, sort of like that contrarian view you have about agile development, and then I'll comment on that to prove the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, so for me, Agile is a great way to kind of work through some uncertainty. So we use Agile in our analysis and in our discovery when we don't even know if we're going to build a product. We don't know who needs it. We don't know what's going on. We're highly uncertain and very likely to fail. So let's go discover something and come back very quickly and start iterating through this. But you would never build an entire product. Like, you're not going to go out and say, let's build a housing community one stick at a time. Okay, well, let's put a foundation down and see what goes from there. You design it and then you execute it. So for me, the design phase, the analysis phase, iterate quickly. 1 week is too long. 3 days, come back and tell me what you found. Tell me what you found. Cool, let's have the stakeholders. So for me, Agile methodology, where you're doing the 2-week sprints using Scrum, is too long to be uncertain. I want clarity. I want it fast. And as soon as I get clarity, I execute. I exit the mode and I enter into an execution mode. And at that point, when I'm in execution, I want to know exactly what I'm going to build. And I want that thing to have been vetted by my audience, by my potential customer, by my stakeholders. Everybody knows what I'm building. There's no lack of clarity or uncertainty there. I want to know exactly what it's going to cost, because how do I go to an investor and say, give me $1 million, I might give you something that you can sell afterwards? No, I want to know exactly what I'm going to build, and I want to know the date that I'm going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And my founders, so Greg from Quick Raise is going to an event on July 15th that he booked 2 weeks ago. He knows when he's going to be face to face with his customer, and he needs to show them a product. And I need to look them in the eye and say, spend the money, go to that event. You're going to have a product, and I can guarantee that to him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to do that if I was just, oh, well, let's just work a little bit at a time. Let's iterate through this thing. And when people start saying me, oh, well, uncertainty is the price that you pay for being novel. I'm filing patents on the designs that we're using. The things that we're doing are highly novel. They're also very controlled and very clearly understood. We've exchanged that uncertainty for clarity early in the process before we invested a lot of time and money into it. And now I can say, go make your commitments. Go out there and get your market engaged and start selling this thing. You're going to be ready.
Right. So now boiling that down, that sort of kind of goes contrary to the almost religious fervor that most developers have about agile development. The whole agile manifesto or whatever, they believe in that. It's like questioning somebody's faith, right? Yeah. And you're coming in and like, I'm trying to find this post that went viral where you kind of like attacked the sort of like agile mindset and etc. But what you're doing is you're kind of like holding the torch for people who have like secretly been questioning the conventional wisdom about agile. And you're throwing rocks at it. And I think that has sort of galvanized an audience around you, and which is why you've gone viral a few times, because you're not just sharing valuable information. You're helping give voice to a whole group of people who are seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah, and a lot of other people are saying this, but they're not engineers. They don't have the engineering background, because engineers I love the autonomy. I loved being able to say, hey, you're trying to do this? Well, this is what I want to do to give you that. And the problem is, I would also, for me personally, I would like a certain tech stack, and I would like a certain approach to the problem, and I want some other things. And if I see code that I don't like, I want to rewrite it. And the fact is, rewriting that code doesn't get me to market faster, doesn't make my investors any more money. And so that's why I've started saying, and I believe this wholeheartedly, code is not the value in the solution. Code is the cost. The code is the price that you must pay. If I could bring a solution to market with no code as an engineer, I would do it. If there was a way for me to build a scalable, stable business with clear intellectual property and the ability to grow and maintain the value in my business without writing code, I would do it every single time. Absolutely. Because code is an expense. We all know the term technical debt, but we don't realize as coders, every line of code that we write is increasing the technical debt. And a lot of people are going to argue with me about this, but the fact of the matter is, if I go to a CEO and I tell them, I can deliver you a solution to this pain, I can do it in 14 weeks, I can do it for $200,000, and it's going to have this reward, they're not going to ask me a single question about what code I'm going to write, or what database I'm going to use, or what deployment strategy, or am I using CI/CD? They're not going to ask me that. What they're going to say is, when am I going to get it? How can I prove that it's going to relieve my pain? And what's my ROI? That's all they're going to care about, because that's their job. Ask me how I know that, because we've signed 4 of these guys in the last 3 months, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Exactly. Well, very cool. Isaac, I think we've had a fantastic conversation. I just wanted to say that I think that marketing and the Catalyst method are kind of coming together, in that now, the pure inventor who is creating a product and then is looking for a market, I think that is just going the way of the dinosaur. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've been seeing posts by people in the VC industry where they're saying, I would rather have a founder that experienced a problem and then create a solution to a problem that they personally experienced than an innovator that came up with an idea. So we're not the only people saying that. Other people are out there saying that same thing. And what they're looking for is a lot of investors and VC folks. What they're trying to find is a known commodity, a known problem, a solution.
Perfect.
I wanted to cover something too. I was paying about $1,000 a month for awareness campaigns and lead generation campaigns on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started, and that was through my business. Then we started sharing content on my page and really pushing. And what I noticed when I went for the month of May, we went side by side. It was the first month I was really running my own content and still paying for awareness on LinkedIn, $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I had more interactions, more conversations, and more views on my personal page with no ad spend than I had on my business page, even if I took my own content that I created on my personal page and promoted it. I still had more awareness, interactions, and lead generation off my content that we were just using the Viral Genius, get out, say something important, and post it as many different ways as possible. So, and we've got, of course, I'm a data guy, so we have all the data and all of the support to back that up. So I'm really excited about what you're building, and I really love the fact that, and we didn't talk about go-to-market strategies at all, but I think we should probably have a follow-up and talk about
We can do that in the next episode, man. That would be super exciting.
We should, because these founders, they're building and they're not listening. And really what they should be listening to is the market. Right. Who are you building this for? Really awesome code. And I've seen founders absolutely fixate on the quality of their code and how they do the CI/CD pipelines.
I mean, that's important, but it's not the end all and be
it's great. Yeah. But the problem is the minute you deliver something to market, the market's going to speak to you, right?
Yeah.
And when they speak to you, you're going to have to go back and change your code. So get something to the market fast, fast, fast. But the next problem is, okay, I built this. Who do I sell it to? I haven't been talking to people to see their feedback. I don't have a built-in net. If I talk to 5 people up front and ask them what they think about this solution, and then I go build a solution, guess what? I have 5 people that are interested in trying it.
Yeah.
And so many times we don't have that. We don't have a built-in foundation. Nobody knows. As I'm writing this book, we're sharing the content about the book. People are talking to me, and I'm either getting more support to prove that I was right, or I'm realizing, hey, wait a second, this other person in the Netherlands has a different view on this, and it's more refined and detailed than mine. And so when you build in public, as you say, what you're building is you're building to a built-in audience.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of gets me to my concluding comments about go-to-market strategy, which we can kind of build on in a future episode, is that the ultimate go-to-market strategy, before you even have a product, is to build an audience first and then discover from your audience what they need. Now, that is a complete mind shift. It's almost too much to bear for an engineer who has an idea for a product. But, more and more creators are doing this. In fact, Joe Polizzi talks about this in his book, Content Inc. And he talks about the fact that build an audience first. And then the product ideas will just start to bubble up from those interactions you have with clients who will comment on your content with pain statements or frustrations or I wish I had this or I wish something like that, right? So
no, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a good conversation, Fernando. I think that you've won me over to the fact that I am actually a semi-marketing person. Which I would not have agreed to probably even 3 months ago.
Well, you are, because that's the whole thing. Founders taking a founder-led marketing approach, they are the source for the whole marketing and go-to-market strategy for their customers. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to convince founders about. Just like you said that you wouldn't have believed that until you kind of came across this concept. That's the mind shift, and that's the go-to-market strategy, in a nutshell.
Yep. I've been reading your book, the Viral Genius Playbook. I've been learning a lot from that, getting excited about doing some conferences and things with you later this year. Have you and I have conversations with an investor to start building kind of what we've talked about with the venture studio the whole time, and that is a single place. Hold on just a second. A single place where a innovator founder can come and take their idea from concept to market, funded and ready to go. And really excited to be on that journey with you, Fernando.
That is super exciting. And hey, we'll see each other next time in a future episode of the Isaac Harder Show and the Viral Genius podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Thanks, Fernando.